I'm right chipos, man. I got this, yeah.
Centuries on end, humans have been searching for the one.
Yeah, good.
So just how do people deal with such an important part of their future well-being? There is one strand of economic theory that attempts to help understand how people interact in the dating game, sexonomics.
One important foundation of sexonomics is the theory surrounding assortative mating. Assortative mating has been used as a tool to understand and explain human mating behavior. It explores how individuals interact with those who possess similar phenotypes. These phenotypes include physique, personality, or education. The research surrounding assortative mating all seemingly agrees on one foundation assumption. Positive assortative mating behavior is common among humans. This positive assortative mating behavior is referred to as homogamy and suggests that people are more likely to match with similar phenotypes. Many studies have examined the correlation between specific phenotypes and the human mating behavior. As is clear in this table, the overriding qualitative phenotype that dictates how people choose prospective partners relates to their personal education level. Hence, people are likely to choose the partners that have similar levels of education to themselves. However, another important factor to consider is the influence of socioeconomic status of parents. As shown in the table below, people are more inclined to find partners who come from similar socioeconomic backgrounds as themselves.
So what does that all have to do with economics?
Well, we can apply economic theories to assortative mating. Economists don't just keep an eye on interest rates and marginal utility functions. Economists also attempt to model and understand the behaviour of individuals. The name of this school of thought within economics is called search theory. This theory addresses the fact that the neoclassical Homo economicus person in a neoclassical competitive equilibrium does not hold up in the real world. Search theory provides for a versatile analysis of the complex interplay of stakeholders in a market given imperfections in information and the existence of friction. Education, for example, is a two-sided search. The potential student is looking for a high-level educational institution, and the university is also looking for the best possible students to enroll in its courses, and also to pay fees, of course. Therefore, both parties are searching for the highest utility party that they will transact with. But what if it's not immediately obvious who is the best trading partner? In a market, the very existence of buyers and sellers who may agree on a price may not be enough to guarantee a transaction, as both parties may need to engage in a costly search for the perfect trade partner, and eventually even enter into a sub-perfect transaction rather than wait for potentially better opportunities around the corner. This type of market is what economists refer to as search frictions. One element of markets with search frictions is that the market will fail to clear for some buyers and sellers, meaning a worker won't find work, a person never finds their romantic match, a student who can't find the right university for them, etc. A low opportunity cost would allow us to search forever, however. In reality, this is not the case, and universities will often employ recruiters and host open days to attract their ideal student. If there is a low opportunity cost for the search, then more time can be spent on the search without risking the market not passing. So if you're Nick Cummings, a man with a virtually infinite supply of potential partners, you continuing your search has little to no opportunity cost.
Yeah, mate, I was like a rat up a drain pipe, sweating like a gypsy with a mortgage. I'm going to get out there and just go bananas.
So, you would have no reason to settle with one of the contestants from The Bachelor. However, numerous studies have shown that the opportunity cost of searching for love is significantly higher for women than it is for men. This is the consequence of declining levels of fertility that women experience as they age. Therefore, women have a far greater incentive to find love sooner in order to ensure that they can possibly start a family, if that is what they desire. Another key implication of search frictions in a market is that when access to information is hard to come by, not everybody is going to be trading at the same market price, meaning that there may be many equilibrium prices in the market for the same good. Where does search friction come from? Lots of places. But what's going to be focused on as the main cause here is information asymmetry. Information asymmetry is a situation in which one party holds better information than the other, creating an environment in which one party holds greater power over the other within the transaction. David Autor describes the labour market as replete with imperfect and asymmetric information. This is partly because workers and jobs are naturally heterogeneous. Workers searching for a job are unlikely to be fully informed about job characteristics, and firms cannot exhaustively screen and negotiate with all applications. This results in asymmetric information in the market. Online dating is a classic example of information asymmetry. On the average dating profile, 20% of people lied about their age, and the average profile was 1 inch taller and 5 pounds lighter than the truthful number. Online dating creates an environment where people have an ability and an incentive to fabricate elements of their lives.
The gamble involved in selecting a life partner can be a daunting one. What's most important, therefore, is finding the perfect time to stop one's search to maximize expected utility and minimize any expected cost. The theory that seeks to answer this is optimal stopping theory, which suggests that you should reject the first 37% of potential partners and then select the next partner better than any of the ones you have come across. What all Australians need to know then is that the honey badger is simply yet to reach 37% of potential life partners available to him.
Lonely, I have nobody for my own. I'm so lonely.
Yeah, good.
The classic form of this problem is as follows. Imagine a boss who wants the best secretary she possibly could find. All of the applicants are interviewed one by one in a random order before a decision is to be made immediately after the interview. And after the interview, the prospective secretary cannot be recalled. During the interviews, the boss can rank all the interviewed candidates, but doesn't know the quality of the candidate she's yet to interview. The crux of the issue, therefore, is selecting the best possible candidate when the decision to reject or accept must be made immediately. Now, we've established individuals choose their partners depending upon phenotypes. Next, we should explore the effect of cheap talk and how it leads to asymmetric information. Cheap talk is a source of information asymmetry. Cheap talk is communication between agents that is costless, non-binding, and unverifiable. To give a clear labour market example, job applicants can exaggerate their productivity output at no lesser cost than giving a realistic response. In contrast, education involves a cost in acquiring a diploma and obtaining good grades and is verifiable. Sobel states, cheap talk has also been shown to be less effective in maximising utility for both employees and employers. This is because in the labour market, a potential employee will always select a signal that leads to a higher wage, and therefore the inclusion of cheap talk makes little difference.
What about the dating market?
Well, what we see in the labour market is in stark contrast to what we do see in the dating market. Because in the dating scene, cheap talk is used as a vital tool that is often used by participants in order to maximise their prospects of finding love. As recent studies have shown, cheap talk is most common in the early stages of a relationship between two participants. Notably, people give particularly flattering things about themselves in order to get noticed or to secure a first date with someone they fancy. Clearly, even though there's no direct payoff from this communication, they are communicating with the intention of receiving a better payoff compared to the payoff they would have received if they did tell the truth. So, as has been shown, economic theory can be widely applied to assortative mating. And similarly, there are a range of economic implications that assortative mating imposes. And as has been discussed, humans are very likely to match with partners who have similar levels of education to themselves. And, on a microeconomic level, this education assortment has been shown to enable higher wages for a couple. This is because assortative mating has been shown to lead to marriages that are more stable and produce greater levels of altruistic behaviour between partners. And, consequently, couples who share similar phenotypes display higher levels of productivity across the board. This, in turn, leads to this high level of productivity in turn leads to career development and career progression, thereby leading to a wage premium for couples who are in homogamous relationships. However, it is important to realise that levels of serial monogamy are in fact declining.
Monogamy isn't realistic.
Monogamy isn't realistic.
Again.
Monogamy isn't realistic.
And this may have implications for the results discussed above.
As well as having severe microeconomic effects, serial monogamy has serious effects on the macroeconomy as well. Another important economic implication of assortative mating is that of income inequality. As higher income people marry each other, their wealth becomes more entrenched, as their children inherit the wealth of their parents and the cycle runs again. This cycle of enrichment also works in reverse, as people with lower education and income also tend to gravitate towards each other. This leads to rising income inequality over time, which has severe economic impacts as well as creating social unrest. As one's ability to consume goods and services is determined by their income, when income inequality is severe, it will cause the people with less money to consume less, creating a reverse multiplier effect. Thus, income inequality can be described as a market failure, partially created by assortative mating.
On the bigger scale, is ageing population. Unsustainable population growth is a critical current Australian issue. Since 1976, Australia has a total fertility rate below the replacement level 2.1 babies per woman. In 2016, Australia's total fertility rate was 1.79 babies per woman. This declining fertility rate is a consequence of an array of factors, one of which is the rising education level of women across the board, combined with marriage becoming less common. The rising level of education induces great career quality for women, thereby resulting in women to start careers first and then families later. This gradual shift in priorities, combined with dropping fertility rates after the age of 25, has contributed significantly to Australia's declining fertility rate. Although Australia's population has been increasing during this time period, this is due to a positive net migration rate. If it were not for this, Australia would see the aggregate supply curve shift to the left, resulting in lower real GDP. Ceteris paribus. This is especially significant as Australia has an ageing population. As you can see in the population pyramid, a large proportion of the population will soon be leaving the workforce, and with the total fertility rate below the replacement rate, is predicted by 2042 there will be 2.5 people of working age supporting each person aged over 65. This will result in lower government revenue through income tax and require increased government expenditure, which is an unsustainable equation.
As we've discussed today, humans are inclined to match with people that have similar characteristics or phenotypes to themselves. This is a demonstration of positive, homogeneous, assortative mating.
Remember that economic theories such as asymmetric information and search theory are applicable to mating patterns as well as education and the labour market.
And given all of this, it is clear that finding the one means thinking not only with your heart, but with your head. And whether you're a bachelor on TV or just looking for love online, your decisions still have economic and social implications for all of Australia.